This morning at this beautiful event in Paris. This one will probably become my favorite. So today, if you don't know where you are at, you're at the session about custom metadata types. And my name is Vladimir. I'm a product manager for custom metadata types team from Salesforce. I live in San Francisco, so I flew here. How many of you know about custom metadata types? How many of you heard about custom metadata types? Almost everyone. And how many of you use custom metadata types? Few. You don't count, wait. So few of you know. So I hope this session will be helpful for all of you. And I specifically target people who never heard about custom metadata types. Looks like there's none of those. Those who heard but never used. And maybe some of you who used it but not up to speed with the latest features, so we'll cover all of those. But before we start, and I have 25 minutes, so I'm gonna read it loud. Just kidding. Forward-looking statement, do not make any purchases based on anything I promise you today, my charisma or any other things. So, you're probably familiar with that slide if you ever been in Salesforce. So, as I said, the agenda for today is to give you some brief introduction to custom metadata types, just in general for people who never heard about it. Explain why custom metadata types, why that thing is so important, and why do we need another type of objects in addition to all of them that we already have in Salesforce. And I want to cover one of the most powerful features we have on custom metadata types, custom metadata types relationships. And let's start with introduction to custom metadata types. It's actually interesting because custom metadata types went GA about 2 years ago. It seems like it's been just yesterday, but in fact it was 2 years ago. And from the beginning we got a pretty awesome feedback, I would have to say. Some my favorite quotes like take development on the platform to the whole new level. Biggest platform feature since Chatter. Godlike developer superpowers. And probably my favorite, the holy freaking grail. And of course we don't base success on the feature on Twitter. And otherwise I would probably promote it already. We got some good numbers, and actually I just realized this is not the latest number. We have over 190 million queries a day against custom metadata types in production, so we don't count sandboxes or dev environments. And this is a slide from probably like 2 months ago. So we're growing, and just last summer we had about 30 million. So just to give you some scale of the adoption we have. And the top ISVs, like top 7 out of 10 ISVs are using custom metadata types in their apps. So, why? Because custom metadata types provide you benefits in 3 main areas: installations, upgrades, and manageability. And I don't expect you to read this slide, it's just to show you that how many things custom metadata types provide to you. And the reason for that is just to make you all excited. A lot of excitement going on. And start asking, what is custom metadata type? What does that tell me, Vladimir? So, when I first got this job, and I recently switched from engineering, well, a year ago, I switched from engineer, and I've been an engineer at Salesforce for a couple of years. I switched to product management, and I said with my current boss, Aaron, you might know him, he probably presented it previously, or you might met him at Dreamforce. And he was like explaining to me custom metadata types. And he's like, well, you need to know that records of custom metadata types are metadata, not data. And I was like, what? I was like, doesn't make any sense. But after a while, I think this became the key slide. So, and if I only can show you one slide today, this would be this slide, even if it looks super confusing. And I'll be referencing this slide several times. And I'll explain why it's so important. But for now, just remember, the records of custom metadata types are metadata. So, now I can ask that question to the audience, like, what types of objects do we have in Salesforce? Anyone? Wait. Well, very often I hear answers standard and custom objects. Right. So that's a pretty good answer, but today I want us to think differently. I want us to think about data objects and metadata objects, so metadata types. So the data objects, think about it as everything you need for your business to store information for your salespeople, for your HR, for your service teams, and so on. And metadata objects that are used to store information about your app, about how your app is functioning, what are the rules, what are the some configs, mappings, and so on. So, and that is used by admins, not by business users. And if we look even further, we can talk about standard data objects like accounts, contacts, opportunities, or standard objects, and custom data objects. And those you create with custom objects to store things like invoices, projects, warranties. And we talk about metadata types. We don't mention it that much, but we have standard metadata types in Salesforce, like validation rules. Validation rule doesn't have anything to do with your business. It just set up how your app is operating. And now we have custom metadata types. Those could be anything from stock point rules, what rates, and anything that is required for your app to be operable, right? And we're talking about simple mappings, or maybe on and off switches and other things. So, what's the problem? But now you might be questioning, like, well, I store my configuration in custom settings and custom objects. Why do I need custom metadata types? Like, I've been doing it for like 15 years, like what changed? The problem with custom settings and custom objects is that every time you need to package and deploy, the only thing you package is a definition of the object. You cannot package any records. And then the hell begins, like post-deployment scripts, 100 pages of manuals. Hey, admins and subscribers, or go and create these 10,000 records. It's simple. Or just do a data loader. A lot of mistakes, problems, support calls. At the end of the day, just to try your app, the subscriber has to go through a lot of steps just to do a demo trial. It's not convenient. So, remember that slide I mentioned? Records of custom metadata types are metadata, not data. And I found the spot where I cannot go further. And that means that you can package the records of custom metadata types. Now you can develop everything you need for your app to be functioning. Package it and deploy and subscribe work. No more post-deployment steps. No more hundreds of lines of Apex code to populate records that can be in a package already. So, and for some ISVs, we're talking about what, like hundreds of objects, 10,000s of records, maybe hundreds, thousands of subscriber works. We've seen like people really retired 100,000 lines of Apex code because they switched from custom settings to custom metadata types. So, and like, yeah, as we're talking about ISVs, you can imagine that's a huge change. It's also important if you're not even ISV. Some of you might be just questioning like, well, I'm not an ISV. Why would I care? Well, if you have a comprehensive environment, you have some dev environment, some integration testing environment, some user acceptance testing environments, and to push things between those, you have to do those manual steps. Yes, it's not on a scale of ISV, but it's pretty painful for you as well. So it benefits everyone who develops, who deploy packages, manage or unmanaged. And custom metadata types are available in change sets. They're available in manage and unmanaged packages. Because you have records, you can use some source control, you can use ID, you can use continuous integration. All of those things are available because no more hard-coded scripts or Apex. So, if you haven't been sold on idea of using custom metadata types yet, I'm just started. So why custom metadata types? Besides deployment benefits, what other features that type of object provides? So this is one of my favorite slides. I call it Custom Metadata Types 2.0. So here I have a side-by-side comparison between list custom settings, custom objects, and custom metadata types. So custom metadata types provide you unlimited calls, benefits on retrieve deploy that we talked about. Then custom metadata types give you an amazing ability to manage records, fields, and objects. So with your custom settings, all you can do is hide the object, that's all. With custom metadata types, you can do way more, and I'm going to talk about it in later slides. And also, custom metadata types provide you a pretty comprehensive set of fields. We support relationship fields, we support big lists, long text areas. None of those supported for custom settings. And probably they will not be supported for custom settings. And recently we introduced a native support in Apex, so now you can update your records directly from Apex. No more callbacks, no more anti-faucets, libraries to work around it. You can do it directly from Apex. So, as I mentioned, the manageability of custom metadata types is way more powerful. It starts on a field level, so now you can set up an editability of particular field. So each field on custom metadata types can be locked, meaning that the value in that field cannot be updated once deployed. It can be made upgradable, meaning that with upgrade package you can modify it, but subscriber is not able to modify it. Or you can leave it subscriber editable, which means that the subscriber can go and modify the value and your upgrade wouldn't override it. And it gets even more interesting when we look into record level manageability. Because records of custom metadata types and metadata, you can apply manageability on specific records. And there are three types of records, three types of levels of manageability. There are managed records, those being created by your subscriber. So you don't have an access, you cannot override them. They're protected managed records. Those can be only upgraded with a package upgrade. Or you can make them public. That means that some of them might be upgradable and some of the field there might be subscriber editable. And a good example is that imagine your app depends on two APIs. And each API requires a security token. And one API is on your side and one API is on the customer side, on the subscriber side. So you want to push your security token with your package, but you want to leave a subscriber a chance to provide his own security token. So in this way, it can be achieved with public managed records. And your security token can be overwritten with package upgrade, and the subscriber has a chance to go and modify his security token if it changes without waiting on you, without actually depending on the package upgrade. So, and I want to show you a small demo of a few things that I've been talking about. And as any demo, I hope it just works. So here in my org, and let me make it. I created a custom object called invoices. So what it stores is information, what state the invoice goes, and what's the price before tax. And you might know I should have updated it to European reality, but every state in the United States has a different sales tax. So, and what I want to do with my custom metadata types, I want to calculate the final price based on the state tax. So right now I just store a price before tax. So what I've done here is I've created a metadata type. Sorry, it's like I'm using one hand to type, so it might be a little bit slower. So I created a metadata type called state sales tax. And I have a tax rate field in it. It's just a number field, and the rest of the field is standard. What's interesting here, you can manage state sales taxes. So with a click of a button, I can change the rates of taxes in the different states. I created two. I created California and Idaho. And California is about 8-something%. So, and what I'm also going to do is I want to make that field subscriber editable. Oh, it's already subscriber editable. So I want to leave that field subscriber editable, so when I deploy it, the subscriber can change tax rate. Let's say tomorrow California increases the tax again. We don't want people wait on a package upgrade. We want them being able to go and update it. So, and I also created an Apex class. It's a simple Apex class that will just retrieve information about particular state tax and calculate the final price after tax for an invoice record. Maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger. So here you can see I can actually retrieve my custom metadata types using simple SOCL. So what I'm doing here, I'm retrieving from state sales tax __MDT, which is a metadata type prefix, so same as the underscore C goes for custom objects, and I match it with a state where that invoice goes. And I have a visual force page. So this is really like 20 lines of code. And I have a visual force page that will display all the information, including state taxes. So I'm going to preview it. And here we are. Just with few lines of code, I'm able to get the price before tax, and based on the state it goes to calculate the final price. So that's simple. And now I want to create a package. So I want to create a package. I want to add my custom metadata types there. So I'm going to create a new package. Call it my package. I'll make it managed. So now I want to add my custom metadata type there. And here's a custom metadata type. Sales tax, add to package. What's interesting is now I want to add records of that custom metadata type. Because they are metadata, they are separate from a metadata type definition. So in my list, I should be able to find state sales taxes. So every time you create a new metadata type, there will be a new line in a component list. So and you can see I can even select which records I want to deploy. So in my case, I want to deploy all of them. Right. And now I'm going to upload this package. I don't know. Summer 2017, even summer's over. So while package is uploading, once it's uploaded, I should be able to deploy it in my subscriber work. And okay, here we are. So I can copy this link. I have a subscriber work ready too. And I'm just going to install the package. So and while we're waiting for the package, do you guys know why hairstyle is never late to anything? It's a joke. So it's because they know all the shortcuts. Yeah. It's the same joke I made this summer, so if you've been to Trailhead DX, probably you heard it.
You want perfect for next reinforcement.
I might need 2 jokes. Internet seems pretty slow. Okay, here we are. So now in my subscriber work, I want to check metadata types. And no surprise here, state sales tax is there. I can go and manage records. So I got both of the records deployed, and I actually can go and modify California state tax. 0. Pretty cool, right? So that's a small demo I wanted to show, and now back to the presentation. So, as I promised, I also want to cover the relationship fields we have on custom metadata types. And they are very different from what you can expect, because you probably used to work with custom object relationships, and those are relationships between data records. And in terms of custom metadata types, those are relationships between metadata records. So we have 3 different types of relationships. We have a relationship to another custom metadata type, relationship to entity definition, and relationship to field definition. I'm going to give examples of all of them. So let's elaborate a little bit on the example, on the demo I showed. So in terms of state taxes, it's not that simple in the states. So you have a state tax, and then you have a county's tax. So let's say I live in San Francisco. My state tax is 6%, but because I live in San Francisco, I pay the additional 2.5% as a sales tax, because the city of San Francisco adds those taxes. And if I'm lucky to live in Oregon, I pay 0 sales tax, because they don't have sales tax. So I want to make the calculation more complex. So I have one custom metadata type that stores information about the county, and one sales type that stores information about state. And I can just traverse to calculate the final sales tax. So I can make my invoices even more detailed based on what city that invoice is going. Now to entity definition. So as I said, that's a relationship between one metadata type to another metadata type. In this case, it's custom metadata type to entity definition. So let's say I have some kind of SLA when a new account or new lead or new invoice should be reviewed by someone in my org. So for account it's 48 hours, and I know that record it relates to account definition. So I can actually, in my epics, I can say, hey, this should go to account definition. It's not a particular record of account, but to the account as an object definition. And it gets even more interesting when it comes to field definition. So now I have a relationship to entity definition. I can extend it to field definition. So in my example, I'm using it to do a default value for a source. Let's say a new account comes, what should be a source? And I know that account definition, and on account definition I have a field definition account source, so I can manipulate that field using custom metadata types later in my app. Or on my referral, I have a custom field referral __ C, so I can relate to that as well. So, and just under forward-looking statement, we're also extending it to entity particles, which is like a compound fields. So right now it works only with non-compound fields, like a regular field, like one field. But in the future, probably next few releases will be extended. And with that, I want to just bring some resources. So we have a pretty good Trailhead modules that have been recently updated. It includes pretty much all the information I've been talking. There are a couple of blogs, and I specifically want to point you out to the recent feature native Apex support. It not only allows you to modify custom metadata type record, but I'm sure a lot of you will be happy to know that you can modify page layouts. So every time you deploy a package now, you can add a specific field from your package to page layout without asking your subscriber admin to do that. And please join me in Success Group. There's a Custom Metadata Type Success Group. Or follow me on Twitter, LinkedIn, not Facebook, Instagram. And questions? Yes?
You said that the custom metadata types are a good replacement for less custom settings. What about hierarchical custom settings? Is something that we don't know?
Yeah, so the question was how custom metadata types helps with the hierarchical custom settings. Unfortunately, right now it's not supported because the hierarchical custom settings relies on user profile, which is kind of a data thing. So custom metadata types would be a great replacement for list custom settings or custom objects if you store configurational data there. If you rely on user profile, at this moment you still use hierarchical custom settings. Though we have it on our long-term roadmap, an idea to come up with something that might replicate the hierarchical custom settings features. It's a pretty good question. I should have mentioned it. Thank you. Yes?
Accessible through certain system classes in Apex, in addition to SOCL? Is it the same custom metadata types?
Yes, especially with the extension of Apex metadata API, there's now classes supported for custom metadata types.
Can you also execute DML on?
What's that?
Can you also execute DML on custom metadata types?
Yes, you cannot delete. You can update but not delete. So there's no destructive changes.
Can you insert?
Yes. Yes.
What if you reference a field definition in your developer to a custom field that you built in your managed package, and you deploy it to a subscriber org, but that field is not there? Does it break or?
I believe you will not be. There will be like a spider dependency. So you have to, if you have a relationship to a specific field, you'll have to deploy that field as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you.
And previously, before we introduced relationship, what people used to do, they used to use a text field and put like just the name of a field, which like exactly why it would break if you forgot to add something, which is a package. Now it's like a relationship field. Okay. Well, if you have any additional questions, I'll be around. Thank you very much.